It's funny that you say it. I had a chief that actually used to wear girdles for weigh-ins. That was a fucking shitbag.
Doesn't help with the weight.
No, it doesn't. But when they get taped afterwards,
Oh, yeah.
they tape the neck and fat ass neck and like thin waist. Terrible. Uniform standards are bullshit. Test 1, 2.
Howdy.
How's it from back here?
You one person is up.
That. Yeah, yours.
My name is Chili Willy.
Okay.
Chili.
All right. 3 seconds. Pause, and then whenever you're ready.
All right, James. Welcome to the Tactical Games Podcast. We're here for our Arizona AAR. So we're gonna step through some of the successes, some of the failures, the things that we did and didn't like about the weekend, and maybe talk shit about Nick for a little bit too.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, cool. So first things first, what are some things that you liked about the weekend? What are some things that you think went well?
I had very good interactions with all of the athletes that were there. One or two people voiced some concerns and complaints. You know, we got our after action questionnaires, but no one wanted to fight me this weekend, which was nice. Schedule ran great. Obviously behind the scenes, we think about things differently than the competitors do. I thought the stage, they were pretty exciting to watch. So we had good interaction there. Got to meet a ton of new competitors, which is always exciting, and seeing their feedback. I mean, the internet right now is going nuts with all the first-time participants.
I think about 30% of the competitors this weekend were first-time competitors. So we had 70% that had competed before, but about 30% of them were brand new.
Yep. So very good turnout. Sellout event. We had 15 teams, 14 teams.
Yep.
It's always a challenge getting the teams through, depending on what we're doing. It was fun to watch them. I didn't see any fights this weekend, which was nice.
There were no husband-wife couples. I think that's probably why.
Yeah. I think people are catching on. Hey, maybe if we're going to team up, do it with somebody that we can be a little more relaxed with. I know we talked about wanting to do a team event. I was like, well, if you know what we're getting into and expectations are pretty low. No, so, we did a few videos prior to Arizona, and obviously we had some rule changes.
Yep.
So we saw some new equipment being utilized, had some new targets.
Yep.
And I can tell you guys working the Carbine stage, a lot of you guys are showing up for the first time with a high power optic on there. And stay tuned. We've got some more informational videos coming out about that. So, it was fun to see the gear changes that were being made, seeing the elites all running red dots now. Yep. I think there's a few people that were still shooting irons, but that's just based on what they wanted to bring out.
Yep. I think that's a financial barrier for most people, as opposed to something, spending an extra $300 or $600 on red dot just might not be in the cards for them at that time.
Well, with certain pieces of gear, I mean, some platforms, if you had a Glock or something that wasn't cut previously,
sure. Yep.
They're looking at an optics ready setup, and we don't expect anybody to go out and buy all new equipment every season. And some people just don't want to run dots. I mean, guys show up, still a ton of people showing up with duty specific gear, which is totally acceptable. So we're not trying to crush anybody's soul when they shoot long range. As you know, from the action sports, there are some people that show up with irons or red dots for carbine and do exceptionally well at long range. So it can be done. What did you think about the carbine stage this weekend?
It was good to see more people advancing further into the stage than what I think we've seen before. So I think giving them a couple months to prepare, telling them what the expected distance or the furthest engagement was going to be, I think people came more prepared. Absolutely. So that's an emphasis that we've been putting on the sport, is not just what we do on the flat bays, but also getting some exposure into shooting longer. What most would qualify as mid-range, I think. So I think our furthest engagement was 460. It was a generous target. Yep. We had a 440 and a 460. I think everybody but one in the elite division hit that target. And there might have only been 15% of the field, men's and women's, that didn't complete the course of fire for the carbine stage, including a rifle spinner at 75 yards. So that was cool to see. It was a big advancement from what we saw at nationals. I think a lot of people were kind of taken aback by the course of fire at nationals with the carbine. And I think in this one, they shot a more technically difficult course because of the spinner that was involved in it. Yeah, so we didn't at nationals. There was a lot of fighting the wind. RPR, especially at that range, like there's crazy ass wind calls that come through there. I think we had like a quarter value wind coming across. I think maybe we saw it. But I think everybody held their own and did pretty well. I did notice, and I think you're going to touch on this later on, especially in the tactical intermediate division, people over magnifying.
Yes.
That was something that I saw quite often. People having 20 power and being jacked all the way up to 20 power to see a 400-yard target. I think that's a misstep. I think it's a crutch that people want to rely on because they want to see exactly what's happening on a certain spot of the target instead of pulling it back and being able to see, okay, can I make a correction off of a miss? Can I see where my bullet's impacting? Obviously, we don't have comps or breaks, so that limits your ability to stay on target extremely well, but you can still, in general, get feedback from your shot after you've shot it.
Yeah, that was one of the first things that I saw was over magnification. And so that course was built with a couple things in mind. We obviously had pretty large targets out there. I think the short distance target was an 8-inch piece of steel, so well over a 4. I mean, it was actually an 8 MOA target there.
Yep.
But seeing we had targets on two wide ends of the stage, so you had wide transitions, which I told people beforehand about field of view. But going into that stage, I had a couple of clients at TuneUp that were worried about their zeros with red dots and everything else. And I told them this is a very dusty facility, so you can see impacts and make adjustments. I wish we could mic people up at the Carbine stage because I think every stage would be unique. But in reference to the Carbine stages, there's a lot of people that haven't done that level of shooting before. And their anxiety going into it, they're worried, hey, I'm going to just trash this stage. And then they come off and they're like, let's say 112 seconds. I finished? I'm like, yep, absolutely. Enjoy your run. And they're like, I didn't know I could do this. So people are going to start making a little more adjustments in their equipment. Obviously a lot of the guys shooting red dots are like, maybe variable power will work for me. And, maybe I don't need a 25X scope.
Right.
But also hearing the commentary as people are shooting when they hit a target, I didn't know I could do that. So that was pretty exciting to watch.
It's fun watching adults get excited about things like that, right? Like it's like Santa Claus is real again, and you can finally find that in shooting long range.
Yep.
Present delivered to your house. Carbine
stage was very exciting. We also brought out for the first time outside of the skirmish the new rig adjustment.
Yep.
I was a little worried about that just for setup going from Saturday to Sunday. We had a phenomenal volunteer staff this weekend. Thank you guys.
Yep.
That I think kind of changed some things for some people as far as seeing the rig and the new setup. We got the unique sled pull, a bigger advancement or more bag movement, which was pretty cool.
Yep.
I think some people are going to start wearing bump helmets. Going under this.
I saw some people bang their heads
pretty
really
bad.
hard.
Yep. But that I was pretty excited about that one. We got a lot of really awesome action shots with that stage. Sorry about your rifles, but weapons maintenance is real. We have videos on it.
I remember this from my time when I would be on ships. Like if you have a cover on and you're on a ship, you're gonna hit your head on something when you're moving around, right? Like that's why they tell you to take your cover off when you're inside. But I saw it mostly people that were hitting their heads had a hat on, and I think they didn't have the field of view to be able to actually see what was above them. Again, you're just creating a more magnified viewing area, so they couldn't see above them and didn't know that bar was above their head. And some people, they took that hat off after the first round. We'll say that for sure.
Yep.
I did like that. That was probably my favorite stage to watch over the weekend. I think we had about probably a 50% finish rate on that stage, but the people that did come across, like most people capped out in the last round of shooting. The people that did come across, it was really cool to see the intensity that they took through that. And I think the photos that have come out of that have been pretty excellent as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of our stages are going to have similar flavor to other events. They're obviously different, but let's say the weave stage that we had this weekend, similar but more movement. And if you watch someone go into the bars, like it's a grueling workout. which is fun. I mean, again, the complaints that we got from people doing it, they're not upset with the work. They're just, it's like watching, like I always say, the Master Squad. They grumble the most, but then when you give them an option out, they're like, no, we want to grumble.
Yeah. Curmudgeon, I think is the term. Yeah.
Which brings up the next thing. So standards.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to, previously in the spirit of the games, we all assumed what a monkey bar was.
Yeah.
And, based on some things, we're going to start tightening up. One, to keep the equity of the sport, but there are certain things where we're trying to put you through the ringer on certain things to test you in other areas.
Yeah.
And if you bypass that, then it's kind of taking away the flavor of the challenge. So we're going to do some things. One, to keep the scoring equitable for people.
Yep.
So don't be offended if we write very descriptively in the brief what the movement is. Some of you probably know what that is, but we're just doing that to keep the standard across the board.
Yeah, that's something we saw with the box step overs. It was definitely, gamers gonna game, right? And we saw that. And I'm not mad at any athlete for taking advantage of a hole that we had in the programming, right? That's on us. Onus is on us to make sure that when we write descriptions, we write them in a way that off ramp is removed. And there was also some grumblings about the rope climbs, right? About elites having an option to bypass rope climbs. That's something that, we've seen people whose grip gets taxed later on in the workout who fall off ropes. Giving them an out so that they can be safe is something that's incredibly important to me. I don't want anybody to get jacked up over a weekend and not be able to go back to work on Monday, or not be able to go and do their job, or seriously hurt themselves. So when it comes to getting yourself 15 feet off the ground, I'm going to give people an option. It's not a fun option. It's going to suck. 15 or 5 hand release burpees over that bar. I think when we timed out at about 36 seconds. It takes me about 7 seconds to climb a rope.
Yeah.
So, the physical fatigue, the things that are actually happening to them, it's going to be worse than climbing the rope. So I don't see it as an easy ramp off of the standard that we set for the workout.
Yeah, especially when it comes to any of the safety things. Now, for the standards, when we tell somebody get over this implement, we're not asking how you get over it. We're just saying get over it, because that's the standard.
Right.
So in the case of having a 10-foot wall and somebody needs to climb over, obviously if you have a shorter athlete and they step on their bag to get higher up on the wall, I don't care. You got over the wall.
Right.
That's different than bringing a ladder.
Yeah. Right.
So we don't want any ladders in the sport.
Yeah.
So if you see some standards changing, just know that's for the sake of the competition and for the benefit to the athletes too. If we have some people that come out and work incredibly hard for this, and we don't want them to lose on a loophole or a technicality.
Yeah. And I don't think it's necessarily changing the standard. I think it's calling out more explicitly in the stage briefs the standard. Because I know when we talked through what a box step over was going to be, we had it in our heads. We knew that it was going to be bag on the shoulders and they were going to be stepping over the box. I expected people to stay low and not extend fully at the top. I'm okay with that. I didn't, and even their hands, like putting your hands in the box, that's still going to suck.
Yeah.
You still have core activation. You still have to balance. You still have a lot of things going on there. It was when we saw like butts going over the box. It's a very easy fix. In the stage brief, it's only hands and bottom of feet may touch the box.
Yep.
Outside of that, now you've got that corrected. And that was a lesson learned for sure, and something that we'll apply going forward.
Outside of the stages that we had this weekend, Arizona was beautiful.
Yep.
Bisbee, I mean, when we got into town, the first thing we saw was the historic copper mine, which was giant. I actually talked to Lou about going back to do the tour, and he said that, if you're claustrophobic, maybe don't go down the mines. But historic Bisbee was pretty amazing to walk around in. The elites got to run through some people's backyards and whatnot. So that was pretty fun.
For those of you that don't know, Bisbee is right next to Sierra Vista. It's kind of tucked into a mountain ridge there. They do what's called the Bisbee 1000 there every year. So it's on the side of a hill, mountain, whatever you want to call it. And there are 1,000 stairs that are public access in this city. So we obviously didn't have time to do 1,000 stairs in the full run course just because we had some scheduling to worry about. But we did have time to do, I think was just under 500 of those stairs. So we attached rucks to all of our men's and women's elite. It was 30 pounds for the men, 20 pounds for the women, and we sent them on a 3.2 mile run course through a bunch of those stairs.
Unmarked course.
Unmarked course, yeah. So we gave them the opportunity to run it however they wanted. They had 4 checkpoints that they needed to go to, but they didn't have a defined path that they needed to hit. They were given a map, and they were given an opportunity to review that map for about 20 minutes before. And then they were able to take a copy of the map with them when they ran. I think everybody, with the exception of a couple, maybe 2 people on 2 separate instances, followed the path that we had figured out was the optimal path. The other paths took you through more elevation changes. It took you on technically a harder course that didn't have, I will say not a harder, a longer course that didn't have the stairs involved in it.
A couple of people had to backtrack a few sets of stairs.
Yep. And we had volunteers at turn points, and we had volunteers at checkpoints to check off the number as the people came through. Lou did a great job of coordinating some incredible local volunteers for us to do that. And I think that every athlete that ran it, all the elite athletes, were very complimentary of that run. It's obviously something that we would love to do for 200 athletes, but logistically, it's impossible for us to organize things like that for so many people.
I think outside of maybe the New Hampshire event last year, this was probably our biggest interaction with the local community as far as people coming out, local law enforcement coming out. Everybody was aware that we were there. So Lou, thanks for your crowd there.
They wrote about us in the local paper twice. It was we had front page Friday, and I believe we had front page. If it hasn't been run yet, it'll be run this week. There was a news station or a radio station that came out. We had a news station that came out. It was really cool to actually see interest. I mean, Arizona has every time we've been to Arizona, we've had a huge turnout. We have a ton of people that are interested in the shooting sports there. So it's cool to see not only the shooting sports grow and the tactical games grow, but the age demographic of shooters that are coming out is much younger than we see in typical states. So that to me means that there are young shooters that are also coming into the sport.
A lot of teenagers. I think 3, 4, 5 teenagers at this event.
Yeah.
So.
A lot of we saw 2 father-son pairs that I can think of off the top of my head. We celebrated Riker's birthday, Riker Lawrenson. That was pretty cool. We sang happy birthday to him. And then Chris and his son were out there. So it's cool. I love seeing that the father-son or the mother-daughter or the parent-child teams to me are something that's so cool. I think back to my childhood and my parents, my mom was not involved in physical fitness at all, but it would be awesome now. It's awesome to see people instilling that love for physical fitness and physical activity and the shooting sports in their kids.
And very well behaved, responsible children.
Yeah. Like some of the safest people that we see on the range, right? I mean, the Harrisons have been competing for I don't know how long, since as far back as I can remember. And they've always been 2 of the most respectful and 2 of the most safe people on the range, even at like 14 years old. So it's always cool to see. And I think that the parents obviously are the ones instilling those safety practices on their children. And it's something we get contacted about. We say, parents reach out to us and they say, hey, can my child compete? And our answer is always the same. Yes, absolutely. But you need to be present with them 100% that they're out on the field. And everybody else's safety is your responsibility and our responsibility, of course. But first and foremost, that needs to be put into those kids. And everyone that we've ever seen out there has done a great job of that.
And I guess the last bit of follow-up, I mean, obviously this range was a little more remote than some of our other facilities as far as power and water. But those of you that aren't familiar with gun ranges, typically they're out away from civilization. So if you're thinking about food and water and all those things, we usually bring those ourselves. We have water that we obviously give out as needed, but we're not... some of these remote locations are going to be extremely remote. So just think about that as you're coming out. And we would love to have showers on site for you guys every day. But, this facility, I guess, was a law enforcement training facility. So it didn't have some of the public amenities that people are used to at other places. So obviously, Nick Palacios does a good job with the foresight of each of our events, telling you restaurants, hotels, and everything in place ahead of time, which... apparently the next venue, Florida, we're going to is a little closer to civilization for everything else. Which I'm actually really excited. It's my mom's hometown where it's in our backyard.
Nice.
So we'll be in Holt, but Pensacola's right down the road, 30 minutes away. And
does that mean mom's going to come out? Are you going to get her out there?
I actually meant to call her. I live weekend to weekend, so I got a couple of weeks for that. But yeah, so that one is, I'm really looking forward to competing in Florida. So I haven't seen any of the programming or anything of that nature, but I do know the facilities. We've looked at it ahead of time. It's a little bit sandy, so,
There's not a range that we shoot on that's not a little bit sandy. It's just different colors of sand everywhere we
Orange
go.
or white, right?
Red, orange, or white, yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing that I'm looking forward to about Florida is there's a pretty stacked elite field, men's elite field coming out there. That's going to be pretty cool. And women's elite. I think the top 3 from women's elite at nationals last year are going to be competing. And of the top 5, like 4 of the 5 or 3 of the 5 are going to be there in the men's side as well. So there's going to be a really, really good elite field out there and a really good females elite field out there as well.
I know last year, Raton came onto the schedule kind of late.
Yep.
And so that was a little bit smaller event. Anytime we have events that are added new or late, I know everybody schedules their calendar out as much as they can if they're responsible. I'm not. But going through some of the events are just going to be smaller or more remote. But it's nice, Tina, there's a bunch of people at every event that we've gone to already, other action matches. There's, hey, you going to Florida? Like, that's the new event, one of the new events this year.
Yep.
Everybody wants to go. And Florida, okay, it's by the beach. We're going to get good seafood. So it's nice to have the higher density of, I'm not going to say competitive athletes, but the bigger friend circle, right?
Yep.
At least for the people I've interacted with. Yeah, we all want to go play together, and it sucks being the guy at home just having to watch the live updates.
Oh yeah, watching Lauren out there giving live updates.
But I know in several of the fields, women's masters, men's tactical is gonna be a pretty tight one.
Mm-hmm.
That have a lot of heavy competitors that they want to go compete with their friends, but they also want to beat up on their friends.
For sure. And that's the best part of the sport, right? It's like you want to beat everybody on their best day. And that's, you want to, all the top competitors in the sport want to compete against the other top competitors in the sport every time they go out. Nobody wants a gimme. I've never seen anybody like really stoked that they won by 25%. Besides John Murray. John Murray just beats everybody so bad recently. Well,
now I did talk to him. He said he qualified.
Yep.
Now he's thinking about dipping his toes in the water in elite.
I would love to see. He's a physical specimen. It'd be cool to see him actually come out there and how he responds to that level of stimulus. I'm excited to see that.
I'm looking forward to it. What I'm looking forward to most about Florida, as far as I know, there's no altitude change.
There is not. No, you're at sea
mountain.
level. Yeah, maybe 20 feet above sea level, not 5,800 or whatever we were at.
I'll be able to breathe. And, I know what's on site, obviously, but there's no 9-story buildings to climb.
No.
So I'm pretty excited. Like, okay, I'm a flatlander. I'll be all right.
You're also safe from the run that we're going to do with the elites too. So we are going to take the run. It's funny that you mentioned the beach. We are going to take the run for the elite division off-site.
Oh, nice.
For this event.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. I know I've seen some videos of some beach runs previously, and anybody that's run on the beach, I tell you, it's not pleasant.
No, there's nothing fun about it.
All right, we're going to do this 40-yard sprint. Okay, now we're going to run 2 miles in sand.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what you're going to give them a ruck.
Yeah.
I'm not an elite. Give them 2 rucks.
Fill the rucks up with the beach. Yeah. Bring the beach back to this point.
So Tina has been training. She does a Stairmaster every day we go to the gym. And now she started putting a plate carrier and a ruck on. Well, she comes home from the gym the other day, and I load a bag up for her. And she's like, "You're going to put that whole sandbag in there?" I'm like, "Yeah." So now she's texting everybody. He's angry with me. Put 40 pounds in that bag. I'm like, I'm training you. Like, nobody's training me, so nobody's keeping me honest.
How long until she puts fit in her Instagram name? Is there going to be any point where fit goes into her Instagram name?
I think she updated level 2, right? So it'll be a little while.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got athlete in my profile, so like it says kind of in quotation. So and we'll start there. But
all right. Anything else that you wanted to cover from the Arizona event?
Definitely, we had, for some of you that saw, we had 30 plus people at our tune-up. Previously, we reserved slots for 20. The tune-up, we're opening up a little more if you guys want to do that. We've got a really good system down in place, so tune-up is good. I think we had at athletes from every division on the podium that were at Tune-Up.
Yep.
You know, I won't say anything about it, you know, but Tune-Up was a very good one for us there in Arizona. I'm really excited about that. But more training to come, more training videos. We're also releasing Skirmish and Training Day, which is going to be a new one. And so I want to get more information out to all of the athletes. The more the better, because I don't want to put something like the spinner. So I think the next follow-up video we're going to do is, you know, you can Google a rifle spinner and it'll show you. After everyone got to shoot that, I had to talk with several of the athletes about how to negotiate that.
Yep.
And I know they were a little salty that I told them afterwards, but I can't tell, you know, obviously run a timer. But, you know, as we sprinkle in those new targets, we're not going to put a standard out there that we don't expect, that's not realistic. So look forward to some more training stuff, training opportunities. We've got university coming up, which is going to be a big one. Other than that, thank you, Arizona, for having us. Thanks, Sierra Vista and Lou. The crowd out there was great.
Yeah. And I echo that it was awesome. It was a great start to the year, and I'm really looking forward to Florida and then team event after that. So we'll sign off there, and we'll talk to the rest of the guys. I'll talk to you soon.